Shall we start? Okay, I guess we'll start. I'm Bill Sanders. I'm the director of the Coordinated Science Lab, and I'd like to welcome you to this fourth symposium on emerging topics. We'll hear more about that and the history about that in a minute, but I'd like to begin by telling you a little bit about CSL and a little bit about the history of this place. It's been quite a few years. I've been the director of CSL for several years, and it seems like almost every year we have a big occasion. We had the 60th anniversary of CSL 2 years ago. This year we had the 50th anniversary of the Allerton Conference, which has grown into a large and very major conference in the computing, communication, and control area. And this year we have this symposium, so I think it's a very nice thing. CSL is, as I said earlier, a 60-year-old interdisciplinary lab. It was founded in 1951 as the Control Systems Laboratory, and I think that's fitting because control is a major topic in this conference. It was an on-classified or an on-campus classified research laboratory, if you can believe that in modern times, for almost the first decade, from 1951 to 1958. And then in 1958, its name was changed to Coordinated Science Lab. Even then, they wanted to keep the same three letters, but changed the name, and became a much broader unclassified research lab on campus. So people always ask me, what are we coordinating? And I don't really know, to be honest with you. But I think the watchword is, in a very simple way, facilitating and helping great people do what they do best. So when you see me talk a little bit about CSL, you'll see that we have a very broad focus. But if there's a common theme, it's a philosophy or a way of approaching problems. You'll see from the speakers today that people may have different languages, different mathematical languages. It may be probability theory, it may be game theory, it might be CS theory or automata theory, algorithms. But in all cases, they take that theory, they advance that theory, and they apply it to practical problems. And I think that's the watchword. Very fundamental work, societal problems, large impact. That's what we try to do. You can see here we're organized both in terms of disciplinary focus, and you see some of the disciplinary focus there: computing and networks, circuits, communication and signal processing, decision and control, remote sensing. But we also are organized in an interdisciplinary way. And there are 3 institutes now affiliated with CSL. These institutes all came about in the last 10 years, and I think they're a major force in bringing us together to solve big problems. The oldest of these is the Information Trust Institute. It was founded in 2004, and this broadly works in the area of computer security and information trust. A majority of the members are CSL members, but the Institute also reaches out across campus even farther than CSL, bringing in psychologists and mathematicians and business people and lawyers and so forth to solve problems related to information trust. The second institute is something called the Advanced Digital Sciences Center. ADSC was founded in 2009 with a $50 million U.S. grant, or $50 million U.S. dollar grant from the Singapore government, and it works in the area of interactive digital media and in smart grids. Its focus really is bringing the cyber and the human world closer together, looking at the interfaces between the cyber and human world and how we can control these very complex systems. It's a big operation in its own right. There are 50 or so full-time people that live in Singapore. We have about a 10,000 square foot facility. Unlike many of the things in Singapore the focus is not on undergraduate or graduate degrees or education. The focus is, like CSL, on interdisciplinary research. In fact, the officials from Singapore came and they saw CSL and they said, we don't have this kind of model in Singapore and we need it. Could you bring your Illinois DNA to Singapore? And the newest of the institutes is something called the Parallel Computing Institute. And you might say, well, why is it newest? We've been doing parallel computing since the beginning of parallel computing here on campus. But what we realized was, although we have NCSA, which is really the brick and mortar and the heavy iron and the big computers that are being built, we needed a focus within the College of Engineering to bring together, again, in an interdisciplinary way, the researchers that were creating the parallel computing innovations that then go into the machines at NCSA. And I think as evidence for that, you can see our Blue Waters grant, about a $217 million grant, if I'm correct. Two of the three PIs of that Blue Waters grant are CSL people, Bill Gropp and Win-Mei Hu. And in fact, Bill Gropp is the director of PCI and Win-Mei Hu, the chief scientist. So that really brings together, again, the fundamental and basic science, but the high impact results of something like building the fastest public computer in the world here on campus. There are also many centers. I won't go through and list them all there, but you can see them. Everything from ethics to how humans interact with technology, to different kinds of technologies, to things related to healthcare, things related to the power grid, things related to avionics, and also very fundamental things, such as the center there you see called the Science of Security, really looking at the fundamental mathematical foundations of creating, if you will, a science of security rather than a craft or a technology of security. We're also fairly big. As you can see there, around 500 researchers. It's hard to count, but we've got, in fact, 107 professors from 12 different academic departments in the Institute. We've got about 250 paid graduate students. We've got probably more than 100 full-time technical professionals. We've got about 35 administrative staff, and we've got also an ever-changing bunch of undergraduates that are doing internships here. And so it's really a place where people come together on campus. In fact, it's often requested when a new faculty member comes here that they have an appointment in CSL. It's a place where people come together to do these both fundamental and high impact things. So in a nutshell, that's CSL. It's an honor to be able to be here and help introduce this fourth in this series of conferences. I should say, and we'll hear more about this in a minute, but this is all due to the hard work of the organizing committee. I won't read it, but there's an acknowledgement page in your program, and it's that student organizing committee, although they very modestly put their committee at the bottom of the page. Those are the people that really did the work, together with some of the administrative people here in CSL who helped them out. But they were the planners, they were the visionaries for what the topic of the conference should be, who they should invite, and so forth. People such as Tamir and I were just advisors to them and helped them a little bit along the way. Not only did they do all the work to make this come together, they raised the money for this, and this is probably the most well-funded student conference anywhere, and that's why they were able to bring all the speakers in, and they were able to bring in, through travel grants, students from around the country as well. So I really would like to take my hats off to them. They do this every year, and it's a really fantastic thing. So what I'd like to do next is introduce Professor Tamir Bashar, a very well-known researcher in the decision and control, and specifically game theory area. And Professor Bashar will talk more about the history of this conference and then hand the baton to our organizers who will take it there. So Tamir, thank you for doing this. We appreciate you coming.